All right. Hello. Bonjour. I'm Dr. Lefebvre, Martin Lefebvre from Northern Policy Institute, and I'm a senior researcher here at the Northern Policy Institute. And I'm here to talk to you about Measurement Month and what Measurement Month could do for you. Um, Note, this presentation will be predominantly in English, but the slides will be bilingual. À noter que cette présentation se déroulerait principalement en anglais. Cependant, les diapositives seront, aux mesures du possible, bilingues et je serai content de répondre à toutes questions en français à la fin de la présentation. Um, so a little bit of housekeeping here. Thank you. Welcome for being reading us with us at 9:30 on this fairly normally cold January winter in Northern Ontario. So presentation will run about half an hour, 45 minutes, and then we'll have a Q&A session. If you have questions during the presentation, please don't hesitate. Type them into the Q&A section on within the Zoom, and I'll get to them at the end of the presentation. And without further ado, let's get started. So first of all, we're going to recognize that we appreciate the historic connection the Indigenous people have to these to our territory, to these territories. We support their efforts to sustain and grow their nation, and we recognize the contribution that they have made in shaping and strengthening the local communities of the province, and Canada. So we here at the Northern Policy Institute have 3 offices. Our office in Thunder Bay is located on Robinson Superior Treaty Territory and is the land of and traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and Fort William First Nations. Sudbury is on the Robinson Huron Treaty Territory and the land that is the traditional territory of the Atikamesh and Anishinaabe, as well as the Wanapete First Nation. Whereas the Kirkland Lake office, from which I'm currently speaking, is on the Robinson Huron Treaty Territory and is the land and traditional territory of the Cree, Ojibwe, and Algonquin people. So I'm going to start off. What is Measurement Month? Well, Measurement Month is a yearly effort by the Northern Policy Institute to create a set of surveys in order to leverage our individual resources to collect consistent, comparable data to inform local decision-making at the regional, provincial, and national levels. We hope that by working together, we can maximize the opportunity to make sure that every voice is heard. And this is especially important considering the vast geographic gaps, data gaps in Northern Ontario, especially because of low population density. So it makes Measurement Month a very important tool in order to measure what's happening in Northern Ontario, especially with regards to the topics of reconciliation, welcoming, and retention. Basically, we're hoping that if each of us can do our little bits together in this common effort, we can basically make a very nice data set in order to leverage our resources and we can do collectively with what we have. So just to reiterate again, we try and do Measurement Month at the beginning of every February. So this year it's going to be February 1st to February 17th of 2023 of this year. So Measurement Month, like I said, it's a series of 5 surveys. A lot of these are repeats from last year with a couple of tweaks. So the employer survey is kind of the same as last year. Is we're measuring and assessing the preparedness of employers to meet the unique needs of immigrants and diverse workforce groups. So I was also, before I get going, I should also note that these surveys have been created in partnership with Environics, and as well as comments and feedback from multiple partner organizations throughout the region. Also, we'll note that the service provider survey, which was part of Measurement Month last year, is not returning this year. It was recently conducted as a separate survey. We're going to go on the slide. Oh yes, the second survey is the individual survey. This one here measures and assesses the gaps and opportunities impacting the lived experiences of Northern Ontario. This one had a bit of a revamp from between this year and last year. We kind of bit more emphasis on wellness within this year's version of the survey, and a lot of the student questions were basically, we're going to see that later on, we're going to broke that off into our own survey to make this survey a bit less cumbersome because it had gone to over 60 questions. So we kind of split it into two. Then we have the exit survey. The exit survey is basically measures perspectives of immigrants and other groups that have migrated out of Northern Ontario. So we want to find out why people have moved out. In December, we published our reports on people who migrated out, and it's interesting because it's not the cold that drove people out. The most common reason was economic. And also then we have our attitudes towards immigration survey. This one here is also new for this year, although we've done this survey before. This one here as a co-production with Environics, we measure and assess the individual attitudes towards immigration in Northern Ontario. And with measurements, this one here, it would be cycling back and forth with our racism survey, depending on the year. And last, and by no means least, is we have the student and youth survey. The student and youth survey measures attitudes on for post-secondary students about why are they choosing to study in Northern Ontario. We want to figure out what are the push and pull factors that encourage people to study post-secondary education in Northern Ontario. And we also want to examine attitudes and perspectives for youth. And by youth, we mean like people under 30, which, it's whatever. It's always a couple. I'm 34 right now, so it's like, so youth is now. I'm no longer a youth, and it's had to deal with my mortality on that. But examining perspective on entrepreneurship. So what is our role? Well, as you'll note, when I did all of the surveys before, you probably fall into one or more surveys. So we ask you that you please respond to at least one survey, and also don't forget, if more than applies, please do more than one. For example, if you're the head of an organization, well, in that case, the employer survey works, and then the individual survey also applies to you. So please answer both. And when in doubt, the individual survey is applicable to almost everybody living in Northern Ontario, so please answer the individual survey. So how can you help? Well, we hope that you help us either promote or partner with us with these surveys. So promoting the survey is basic. Our only ask is you help spread the word on the survey. You promote the survey on social media, on your website, your newsletters, communications, or just email out the survey to people in your Outlook contact list. And also, we're offering the opportunity to partner. So you pick a survey, and then you can champion one of them, and you can distribute them to their clients, and encourage them to respond. And then we follow up. So 1 week after the launch, we'll do another. I will be crunching the numbers, see where we have overrepresentation, we have underrepresentation, and then we'll do another push to make sure that we have a very nice sample that's representative across the Northern Ontario. And we'll do another promotional push. And then your part's done. We here at MPI, then we get to crunch the numbers. So we'll analyze the data, and we'll create, and for partners too, we'll create anonymized data sets for each region. And then MPI will publish a series of reports with the survey findings. We started doing this in December. We've released the first two of 2022's measurement month surveys, the individual experience survey and the exit survey. And like I said, the exit survey was actually quite some of the results in that were actually very interesting and slightly counterintuitive. Like I said, it's not the cold why people move out of Northern Ontario. It's economics. So what are the benefits of helping us promote Measurement Month? Well, what we're doing here is we align Northern Ontario's data collection efforts. We are creating a collective effort to increase response rates. That way we have comparable data that we can compare across regions collected simultaneously. So we are creating a snapshot in time at the start of February, so we can compare, for example, attitudes in Northwestern Ontario from Northeastern Ontario. We can compare Timmins to Sudbury. We can compare Thunder Bay to Kenora. There are many ways that we're trying to approach this, and by making this a comparable data using the same questions at the same time as we can make a really nice comparison between the various regions in Northern Ontario. So, and the other thing too is, since we're rolling with the same questions year over year, or most of the same questions, as we get further along, we'll be able to do interesting time comparisons. We'll be able to compare what are the attitudes on immigration in Northern Ontario from 2002 to 2027, a nice 5-year gap. We'll be able to do other things as well with this. So we're hoping to really make this an effort that will bring dividend year over year over year as we get more and more data within our data set. And NPI, we will prepare all of the messaging and graphics. If you want to, you can do your own, but we will provide all the partners and promoters with a media kit that will have social media graphics, social media suggested social media language, and life. So you just have to copy paste that into your newsletters, your tweets, your Instagram messages, Facebook messages, and help us spread the word. So again, if at the partner level too, your organization's logo will be displayed on the master survey landing page. So we'll have like one web page dedicated where all the surveys will be hosted, as well as you will be listed in the annual report and also the master report for each of the surveys. So we'll be able to get a bit of promotion. And again, we will do all of the data analysis and provide you with anonymized data, provided there's a certain sample size for response rates. One of the reasons we're doing this, as long as we have enough responses, is we don't want people to be able to de-identify the data because we're anonymous, and it's kind of like turns into 20 questions. So as long as we have a sufficient response rate, we'll be able to give you data. And so that's also also means that if we need a certain amount of results to be able to share data as well, because we value people's privacy, and we don't want to violate that. It's an act of trust to answer a survey, and we don't want to violate that trust. So again, if you're interested, just please shoot me an email at mlefebvre@northernpolicy.ca, and we'll have that as well in the email follow-up. So now we're just going to go with how we should spread the word. So all we ask is you do what you can with the capacity you have. Every little bit helps. So the easy suggestions is you can share material on your social media, whether it's your Twitter, your Facebook, your Instagram, and the like. Please add a survey link to your newsletter. This year too, our graphics department here in NPI has created some really nice QR codes for including branded QR codes for this, and we can also help with that as well. You can also link the survey on your organization and municipality's webpage, or just old-fashioned email. Just send a mass email to your contacts, and just please just spread the word. Also, we will have in the media kit, we will have we will create hashtags for it for Measurement Month as well, and so we will create it as well. And also, our messaging people are also reminding me to make sure that when you're sharing on social media, please don't forget to tag us as well, so that way we can also help you spread the word, spreading our word, type of thing. Help us help you type of things. So we're going to go here a bit about like who should be targeted for which survey. Just big overview of what's going on here. Sorry for the kind of wall of text here. Bilingual slides means that it's a lot more text heavy, even if I'm only looking at half the slide for relevant language. So employer survey. So ideally, so basically, we want the survey to be representative of people. So employer survey is for people who own a business, who are heads of organizations as well. So basically, we're hoping that, say if you're a Chamber of Commerce, an economic development corporation, a community futures corporation, a job development, a workforce planning board, people who interact with employers all the time. We want you to target employers, so people you contact in your professional networks. So heads of organizations, heads of industries, heads of businesses that have at least one employee. Um, we're we're not really looking at sole proprietor at one employee enterprises here. We're mostly looking at people who hire at least one employee for this survey. Individual survey. This is our broadest survey. Last year we had over 650 participants for this one, and if you look at our reports, this was also the one with the most regional analysis because we had this massive data set to work with. And that's also the data set I was able to share the most about because, again, it's our broadest data set. It had most data in it, most answers to it. So we were able to split things apart and share the data with this one with less chances of accidentally de-anonymizing someone by sharing data. So this one here is people who interact with individuals on a day-to-day basis. Settlement service providers, health providers, multicultural centers, municipalities, libraries, the list goes on. And who do you want people taking this? People living in Northern Ontario. This is, like I said, this is the broadest survey. This is the survey where we want the broadest cross-section possible. So people currently living in Northern Ontario, please answer this survey. Next one here, student use survey. Like I said, we cleaved off the student questions from the individual survey because it was starting to get a little unwieldy. And so we made this specifically for students and youth. And if before youth it almost seems like youth like fusion. It's like a couple years before I was born. A couple years younger than I am. Sorry. We'll just take. So who are we looking for? We're looking for partnership with post-secondary institutions, student unions, international student associations, school boards, people who usually interact with youths and students. So who are we target? 20 something, dreaming of starting a business, a student in Northern Ontario post-secondary institution, person on a temporary study visa, just people who are currently are young, or I guess young at heart, and also or studying in Northern Ontario. Next one is exit survey. Like I said, this one here, I fondness for the report that we just published on this one, but this one here is we're looking for people who have left Northern Ontario. This is also one of the ones we have a bit more of a challenge targeting because we, Northern Policy Institute, we are a think tank in and for Northern Ontario. So as you think about it, it's like, oh, this is people who are no longer within our region. So it's a way we have to find ways of targeting people who are no longer in Northern Ontario or who have moved within Northern Ontario. So say if you've moved from Sudbury to Timmins or Timmins to Kirkland Lake, like I have last year or 2 years ago now, that also counts as exit because you've moved within, you've changed communities. And so we're looking at people who have lived in a Northern Ontario community, but have moved, even if it, like I said, even if the move is there, is within Northern Ontario. So employees relocated for work, a student that studied at a post-secondary institution and left, someone who studied in high school in Northern Ontario and left for a post-secondary institution. So we're just kind of looking at ways of getting at people who used to live in Northern Ontario and have left. And from that too, we're trying to make recommendations of how can we keep people in Northern Ontario? Like what are the factors what are the barriers of keeping our population? All right, and the last one is the attitudes towards immigration. This one here is the only one too that will also be a phone survey. So we'll be phoning people in the Big Five and also also looking at people across Northern Ontario. So we're looking people here. It's settlement providers, so multicultural centers, municipalities, economic development organizations, post-secondary institutions. We are looking at people who are living in Northern Ontario, and we're basically looking at people. Individuals looking at living in Northern Ontario, and we're asking them like, what are their attitudes on immigration? Immigration has been massive. They've been basically the principal component to Canadian population growth over the past over 20 years. And so we're looking at how people are interacting with this and what are their attitudes on immigration. So like I said earlier, we are going to be creating we're providing materials to everybody who will partner. Also, I have to say all material we provide you will be bilingual in French and English. So we will also, if you're also partnering with us, we'll give you advanced test links to the survey so you can try it out yourself. That's also going to be great for us because it allows us to stress test our surveys. And from that, I build our monitoring dashboards to make sure that we have an adequate sampling of Northern Ontario. So this is, again, this is the test one. We will send you the live links too right before the survey starts. Please, please, please don't mix up the test links with the survey links because we will not be monitoring the test links after the start of the survey. Basically, so we have the surveys, we have social media language, we have graphics, we have distribution, we have language for distribution. If you want, again, all of these are suggested. We have suggested targeted respondents. We have follow-up information too, is we will basically 1 week in, we'll tell you who's answering the survey, like what demographic is answering the survey, what do we need to push on to get a more representative sample of Northern Ontario. Again, and all of this too is depending on your capacity. We're just asking for this for asking that people use this what they can. That's all we're asking for. Well, I see a quick question here. I'll just answer this live because I'm talking about the surveys right now. So we are using SurveyMonkey for this for the surveys. We've used SurveyMonkey in the past. It's it meets our needs. And so we also put in the disclaimer that yes, SurveyMonkey is an American company, and while the data is on SurveyMonkey servers, it's still accessible to U.S. law enforcement. Don't really know why people would want why the U.S. Law enforcement would want that, but that's the reality of it. But yeah, we're using SurveyMonkey. Also, post-survey, again, provided we have sample size, you can request, we'll give you anonymized data for your region. Again, provided we have sample size. So again, and I will stress again, the promotional materials we're giving you, it's a resource. You can use them if you want. Don't feel obligated to use them. If you feel that you have graphic designers or you feel that your message is better or your messaging is better than ours, go ahead and do it because we don't know your audience. So please, if you can think you can tailor your message to better for your audience, tweak your network, tweak it to your network, please go ahead. All we're asking is you spread the word. So so yeah, so now we're at the question section. Sorry if I was a bit fast on a couple parts. Like I said, I'm really excited about this initiative. I've seen the data we had from last year, and I'm hoping that this year we can get even more data because it's a very interesting data set to analyze. Also, like I said earlier too, we'll do a follow-up email with all people who signed up. We'll have a lot of that information as well in the email. If you have any further questions too, you can also send me an email at mlefebvre@northernpolicy.ca, and we can work. And I'll be happy to answer your questions, further questions from that too. So again, just waiting for. This is going to take. I'm just going to stay here for a couple minutes to answer questions. If not, thank you very much for attending. Again, like I said, this is a very interesting initiative by the Northern Policy Institute. And like I said earlier, we've had 2 reports out from last year's measurement month. Just to give you a taste of what we can do if we all pull together at collecting comparable, coherent data from the various regions of Northern Ontario. And it really it's really interesting what we can do from those things. So again, I'll keep the line open here for a couple more minutes for questions, and then please have a good day. Ah, yes. 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 So the surveys, yes, you will be able to see the surveys. We should be out. We'll be sending a copy of all the questions in the post webinar email. So the questions you'll be able to see the questions there. So it should be out. I think it's tomorrow. Lilit, well, back me up on this, please. Do you know exactly when the email's coming out? Yeah, so this week, survey. So we'll be no later than Friday. There's a couple of moving parts on the back end, but all of the questions right now, we're just waiting on a couple of questions being going back and forth on the translation. So we'll get 4 of the surveys are already primed to go. We're just waiting on a 5th one before we send everything out. All right. Next, survey will be open. How long will the survey be open? The survey will be open from February 1st to February 17th. So again, we're trying to for half a month and a bit more because of how the weekends fall. And yes, so what kind of products? We have released 2 reports right now on the 5 surveys from last year. And 2 more should be coming out soon. Again, I'm on the research side, not the publishing side, so I'm sorry I can't give you anything more than soon, but I would be shocked if 2 of the reports weren't released in January. 2 more reports released in January out of the 5. But we have 2 reports so far, the individual survey and the exit survey. They're available on our website, northernpolicy.ca, and within our research section. And those are, again, they're very interesting reports to read. Next question. Will they replicate to distribute survey individually? Yes. Yes. No, we'll give you all the links to each individual survey. So again, if you want to tailor the message and just send one of the surveys to a certain list of people and another survey to other list of people, by all means, please go ahead and do that. We will send you all the links individually, as well as a common landing page where we have all the surveys. So yeah, no, if you just want to send out a couple of targeted surveys to targeted people on your distribution list, on your contact list, please go ahead. We're just asking to do what's available with what you can. Oh, and my colleagues have posted the links to our exit individual survey in the webinar chat. All right, looks like we don't have any more questions. So thank you for spending part of your morning with us at NPI, and please have a good day, and see you for measurement month. Thanks.